morning. Welcome to this kind of short video that Dave and I are doing about transforming and about the power of the Holy Spirit working in our lives. We are streaming this from you in real time at our home in Chatburn. And just to kind of warn you, our kids are upstairs watching the iPad, and we also have building work going on. So anything could happen, but it's great to be with you here live on this rainy Friday morning. We would love, if you are watching this live, for you to interact with us. If you have any burning questions, if you have any comments, then we will look at them and try to answer them at the end. So please, please get involved as we explore this topic together.
Yeah, fantastic. Questions will only work live. If you watch it later, we can't go back in time and answer. Yes. Technology's good, but it's not that good. We've not got an app yet for time travel. But okay, so today's topic is kind of following on from what Ruth spoke on Sunday, which was Pentecost, and Lucy on Wednesday. And the topic is about transforming our communities through the power of the Holy Spirit. So just before we begin, I'm just going to kind of give a bit of a whistle-stop tour in terms of the Holy Spirit to kind of create like a foundation for what we're going to share this morning. So, so in the Gospels, Jesus talks quite a bit about the Holy Spirit. He talks to his disciples. He kind of begins to explain to them that when he goes, that they will still have the Holy Spirit with them. And it also talks in Acts, and it says, yeah, sorry.
Do you want us to read it?
Yes, you read it. You read it. I'm not really going to read it.
So it says in Acts,
sorry, I found it.
You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth.
Absolutely. So Jesus talks quite a bit about the Holy Spirit being with us, kind of when he's still around. He's kind of just going to preempt it really and talk to his disciples. And what we're talking about today is about the Holy Spirit being upon us to transform the world around us. When the Bible talks about the Holy Spirit, if you look closely, it almost talks about it in two different ways. It talks about the Holy Spirit being like almost in us for us, so that the Holy Spirit is our comforter and our counsellor. But it also talks about the Holy Spirit being almost upon us for everybody else. So if we go back, if we look at the passage in Luke and in Isaiah, it says, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners." So it's almost like he's in me, kind of to give me the warm fuzzy feelings and to comfort me, to counsel me, to give me wisdom. But he's also on me and anoints me, and that's like God through us to when we go out and we share the good news of the gospel and we be who God has created us to be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Cool. So,
yeah, and I think it's important also to mention that the Holy Spirit was given to us as a gift. The Holy Spirit, He is with us, He is in us, He is a gift to help us fully understand who God is and to walk in the fullness of that. And for any follower of Jesus, they are given the gift of the Holy Spirit. It isn't only for certain people.
Yeah, that's right. So, kind of moving on, Becca, could you tell us about a time when you have experienced the Holy Spirit working through your life?
Yeah, so the bit, as I've been kind of thinking about this, the bit of the Holy Spirit that, there's so many different things that we could talk about, but the bit that's really resonated with me over the past few weeks is about the power of the Holy Spirit. And Dave and I have been doing, as some of you may have noticed, or it feels like we've been doing quite a lot of videos. It feels like most weeks we've been doing videos where we've been kind of sharing our thoughts and our and exploring faith. Now, despite what it may look like to those who are watching these videos, I find this really uncomfortable. This is way out of my comfort zone. speaking about faith, speaking about church isn't something that I feel comes really naturally to me, and often I feel like I'm babbling on and not making a huge amount of sense. And it's also something that I've only really stepped into over the past year or so. And that's something that I feel that God is prompting me to do. I feel that God has kind of said to me that you've got a voice and I want you to use it, but that doesn't mean that I feel confident or really comfortable doing so. And there is this great verse in the Bible that I turn to that talks about the power of the Holy Spirit, and it's Paul talking in Corinthians, and he says, I came to you in weakness with great fear and trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on human wisdom, but on God's power. And there is that, a sense that the Holy Spirit fills me with power and with strength and with a capacity to do things that I don't feel that I can do in my own strength.
It's almost like a supernatural strength where you kind of let go almost of yourself and let God kind of step in and work through you. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and also I believe that the Holy Spirit gives me the courage to do that. For those of you that use the Lectio 365 app, they've been looking at the Holy Spirit this week, and there was a great quote that I'm going to read about the kind of the Holy Spirit filling us with God's power, and it's by somebody called Corrie ten Boom, who was somebody who during the Second World War, she hid Jews in her house and was kind of involved in the resistance movement. And she says that trying to do the Lord's work in your own strength is the most confusing, exhausting, and tedious of all work. But when you are filled with the Holy Spirit, then the ministry of Jesus just flows out of you. And that is my experience, that often my natural temptation is to do things in my own strength, but that when I allow the Holy Spirit to fill me with God's power, then I'm able to do extraordinary things.
Yeah. I think for me, almost the greatest challenge is actually kind of releasing surrendering to God to let His Holy Spirit work through us. So, for example, doing a video like this where we don't have it all kind of planned and worked out, but we, as you can probably see, but actually. Just doing it live and let the conversation flow, that is against my nature. I would ideally like to have it all written down and worked out exactly like a speech, but actually I know that God works through us and works through me best when I surrender to Him. I remember there was a time, probably about 10 years ago, which is maybe one of the first times I really probably experienced that feeling almost of God kind of working through me. I mean, I think God works through us all, like all the time, every day, because the Holy Spirit is in us and works through us all the time. But I do kind of remember a specific moment when I was visiting a church down in Cornwall as part of like a ministry team, and there was a long queue of about 20 odd people to pray for. And I remember feeling tired and exhausted and not really with it. And I remember almost saying to God, God, I'm not sure I can do this today. I think it's me that needs the prayer today. I just had no energy. And it was at that point of almost absolute surrender to God, saying, God, you better show up and work through me, that actually He really did. And I remember this lady that specifically I prayed for, and I was just like, God, how do you see this person? What do you see? Help me out. And as I spoke what to me felt like normal words, I remember this lady just kind of broke down in tears, as it was as if God had spoken right into her heart. Now that wasn't me, but it was God through me. And I think that is almost how we begin to transform the communities and the world around us, is when we surrender ourselves to God and let Him and His Holy Spirit work through us.
And as we said, it was Pentecost last Sunday, and on that day there are many people all around the globe praying, "Come, Holy Spirit."
Yeah.
What is that about, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's a funny phrase, that one, "Come, Holy Spirit." I've always thought, because the Holy Spirit is already here and He's already with us and He's already in us. I think actually it's more about our decision of choosing to step in and to surrender than it is about saying, "God, come," like He's distant and far away, because He's actually with us already. But I think that kind of longing is about saying, "God and Holy Spirit, we want you here. We want you in our hearts. We want you all around us in this world, and we want to see your transforming power come to kind of restore everything that you intended back to your purposes, to see your kingdom come, to see you as God and ruler of this land."
Yeah. And I think that, we, as we kind of end with, what is the invitation in all of this? What does this look like in our lives? How does this affect us, tomorrow or on Monday morning? And I think there is an invitation to, as we said, to surrender our will to God, to allow us to be filled with the Holy Spirit, to know of His power in our lives. And I think there is also an invitation to be aware of the Holy Spirit, to be aware of promptings from the Holy Spirit in, not just in our prayer time, but when we are in just our normal life, whether that's in the supermarket or with our kids or speaking to a friend, that we would be aware of promptings from the Holy Spirit, and that we would be open to respond to those, whether that's a nudging to text a friend that we haven't seen for a while, or to pray for a particular person, or to be bold and share some of God with them. But there is an invitation for us to be open to the Holy Spirit moving in us.
There's a question that I kind of often use myself, and the Bible talks quite a bit about the eyes of our heart, and that question is, God, what do you see? God, open the eyes of my heart to see what you see. What do you see when you look at that person that perhaps everybody else is judging? What gold do you see in people? And I find it's when I maybe surrender my prejudgments and whatever else might be going through my mind to say, God, what do you see in this solution, in this situation, or in that person? That it's in that moment that God kind of speaks, and I have kind of a revelation, really, like a God knowledge of that.
Yeah, okay. Let's end with a prayer. If you're watching live and you've got questions, we will go to them after we've prayed, so write them on now. God, thank you that you don't leave us to walk this journey of faith on our own, but you have given us the Holy Spirit to equip us, to comfort us, to know your peace. And I pray for each of us as we continue our walk with you, that we would be fully surrendered to you and to your purposes in our life, that the eyes of our heart and our ears would be open to your promptings, to send us out to transform our communities. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, hang on. Doesn't look like there are any burning questions. All right. Well, thank you for joining us if you're live, or if you're catching up later, and we'll see you soon.